And I'm back! So everybody, we're back. We're going to start the second prologue now, it looks like. And I'm still sick. I still feel like crap. But it's a lot better for me to occupy my mind by doing this than just sitting around doing nothing. So I'm going to do this. I'd love to recap what happened last time, but I can't remember. Oh yeah, we saved a chick from dashing off to her death. I forgot her name. And we learned that we got the watch was passed down from our grandpa, and grandpa was super successful because grandpa knew that the watch had the power to rewind back 5 minutes in time every hour, and now our protagonist fellow is going to use it to do the same thing, but for a much more humble reason. That's not right. She's just looking for a girlfriend. So let's see where the story leads now. It would usually happen about once a week. And on days when it would happen, I would end up waking up before the alarm on my phone sounded. Huh. This again. My brain felt like pudding as I roused from my slumber, but it was still immediately apparent to me that today was one of those days. Preparing myself for the inevitable, I then opened my eyes. Hello. We have an overbearing mother. Before me lay a girl who had a more traditional hair of beauty to her than any other I knew. Her cleavage was slightly exposed, and she had evidently been watching me sleep. A man who wakes up to a beautiful girl in his bed is no doubt blessed in life. Or rather, he would be, if the girl weren't actually his sister. Good morning, Michiru.
おはようございます、兄様。起こしてしまいましたか?
Yeah, but it's not a big deal. It's already morning.
そうですか。兄様を疑うようで申し訳ありませんが、私に気を使って朝だという嘘をついていませんか?
The bright sunlight streaming in through the windows had already given me the impression that it would be another hot day. But there was no way for my little sister to know that. Michiru's eyes were blank and empty, because she happens to be blind. Don't worry, it really is morning. I smiled at her as I checked the time on my phone. I'm gonna get up in like 10 minutes.
10分。あとわずかで、兄様の吐息とぬくもりを感じられる幸せが終わってしまうのは、まるでシンデレラが魔法の解ける瞬間を残念に思うようなものですね。
This is so over the top. Wow, you're pretty poetic at this hour in the morning.
兄様、キスをしてもよろしいですか?
You know, Michiro, you're not a kid anymore. You're getting a little old to be crawling into bed with me. Plus, you shouldn't be asking things like that of your sibling either.
ミチルはまだ子供ですし、これでもかなり譲歩したお願いですのに。
The self-proclaimed child certainly wasn't one any longer, especially considering her physical maturation? I don't know if that's a word. But then she didn't get her way. But when she didn't get her way, she could certainly still pout like one. In spite of her reserved outward appearance, I think my younger sister is her absolute cutest when she gets like this. Now it reminds me. There was something I wanted to ask you.
何をですか?
If you had just one chance to turn back time and relive your life from any point in the past, how far back would you turn the hands of time?
何かの謎々ですか?
No, just
やり
assertively.
直したい過去などというものは特にありませんが。
You're the first person to give me a direct answer like that.
兄様と双子の兄弟として生まれたかったかもしれませんね。
I don't mean to relive your life that way. Wouldn't you want to go back and do something to avoid getting that sickness which made you blind or something like that?
全く思いません。
Even if you're used to it by now, you can't deny that it's
そ
inconvenient.
うですが、目が見えなくなったからこそ見えるようになったものも多いですから。
Then Michiru reached out to my face.
兄様、本当に目が覚めたようですので失礼いたします。
I closed my eyes and let her touch my face. Michiru's simple fingers diligently traced over the outline of my cheeks, my forehead, my eyebrows, my eyes, and my lips in orderly fashion. Given her blindness, this is the closest thing to sight of which she is capable. Her fingers moved from my face to my neck, pausing briefly at the jugular and then continued down to my shoulders and my arms and eventually my fingers. As for below my waist, well, I had already scolded her for trying to do that in the past. Once she had finished, her fingers reluctantly moved away, so I opened my eyes.
今日も兄様はご健康のようで何よりです。
Michiru was able to diagnose me better than a doctor like this. Her fingers can read me like Braille, and she can even pick up on some smaller details such as the texture of my skin and my body temperature. In any case, do you really enjoy listening to me sleep that much?
この上なく幸せです。できれば男女のちぎり、兄様のたくましいものでお慈悲をいただければと無双しておりますが、このぬくもりと匂いを糧に横と自分を慰めて我慢いたします。
Yeah, I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. Alright, time to get up.
兄様、お口だけでも5分で済ませてみせます。
What? What are you on about? I might still be a virgin, but I spent a lot of time practicing in my room, and there's no way I could finish in just 5 minutes. Right? I felt like I was never going to get up at this rate, so I took Michiru by the hand and pulled her out of bed with me. Go on, go to your room and get dressed.
愛が足りません。
With a reluctant sigh, she did as I said and left my room. I'm the one that should be sighing here. That Miu girl from yesterday was straightforwardly adorable, but my sister walked a very fine line between adorable and alarming. I wonder how on earth she became someone who can teeter on crossing that kind of dangerous line as if it were nothing. Oh, I actually already know why. At a young age, she was struck with a severe fever that left her bereft of her sight, and very nearly her life as well. I did everything in my power to take care of her back then. And even after she'd recovered, I continued to spend a great deal of time with her, helping her adjust to life without sight. And look where that's gotten me. You may think it to be a heartwarming story, but the caveat that Michiru has actually fallen in love with me as a result just makes it all feel like a bad joke at my expense. Well, whatever. I should get dressed too. I slipped out of my pajamas and put on my school uniform. The summer uniform felt soft and comfortable. I then checked to make sure I had my phone, wallet, and the pocket watch with me. Right. I glanced around my room, making sure I wasn't forgetting anything. In order to experience the taste of ordinary life, I live on my own and separate part of my family's estate. Naturally, room and board is on them, but my laundry, cleaning up after myself, and any other issues of maintenance are all on my own responsibilities. In other words, don't houses usually have AC nowadays? Every summer, the winter gave me cause to complain about the weather, and today was no different.
和室なら朝晩は十分涼しいだろうさ。
Girl appeared out of nowhere. Yo, good morning.
我が輩にとって人間の時間の尺度は当てはまらないが、おはようと返しておこう。
I wish you'd give me a normal greeting in the morning for once.
お主の妹も相変わらずだの。
You saw?
いつも見守っておるぞ。
For someone putting on airs like they're my guardian angel, you certainly didn't help me out there. You could have woken me up when Michiru came in or something.
お主が妹を邪険に扱えるなら手伝ってもやるさ。自分にできぬことで人に当たるな。
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Sorry. All I could do was apologize meekly. Feeling a little guilty, I slipped on my sandals and went into the garden. This house is really massive. It's not as though I get along poorly with my family, but my parents are always working and I hardly ever see them at home because the estate is so big. The only one who really feels like family is Michiru. Michiru was raised as a Sawatari successor as well, but the aspiration was lost in tandem with her sight. While my family haven't mistreated her since then, they haven't exactly treated her with much priority either. Undoubtedly, the idea that I was her lone, unconditional ally, paired with the generosity I'd shown toward her, were why she became totally dependent on me now. She really is an adorable little sister, though.
昨日の女子といい、妹のことといい、お主は無駄に何でもかんでも背負いすぎだな。
Crow floated along behind me. Are you worried about me?
事実を口にしたまでだが、人間からすればこれは心配になるのか？
It'll be fine. My life is easy, so it won't hurt me to try helping someone
む
else.
しろ地に足をつけるための重しか。
Man, I wish there was a girl out there who would tie me up.
バカなことを言ってないで、さっさと朝毛を済ませてこい。
My stomach is so empty. I feel like I could float in the air like you. Crow waved her hand apathetically, but I ignored her and started walking towards the main building. One hour later. As I waited outside the house after finishing breakfast, Michiru appeared, wearing her own uniform and carrying her parasol.
兄様、今日もよろしくお願いします。
Michiru held out her hand elegantly as if she were inviting me to dance. Owing to her blindness, we always hold hands when walking to school together. Though it's not like my sister isn't able to get around on her own, since she uses her parasol like a cane. This is a privilege reserved just for her because she's family.
いっそこの妹と付き合ってしまえばと思わなくもない。
You can say some scary things, you know that? Since Michiru couldn't hear Crow's voice, she was naturally confused by my response. It's nothing, let's go.
今日も元気にですね。
Now then, we normally take the monorail to get to school. The city is notable for having a monorail line which serves as one of the main attractions, so we use it to go just about everywhere. It makes getting around the city a snap. I matched Michiru's gait as we left the house. I matched Michiru's walking speed as we left the house, passing through the intersection on our way to the nearest boarding station. An unpleasant memory briefly surfaced. We went through the ticket gate and onto the boarding platform. I tried to avoid taking Michiru here where it's crowded. We left home pretty early, so there weren't that many people.
ではご主人、我が輩はいつものようにモノレールで人の世の観察を楽しむゆえ、そちらも一日勉学に励むとよい。
Crow was as excited as ever to tell me that while we waited on the platform. I couldn't respond to her in front of Michiru, so I just glared at her instead. She doesn't have to deal with responsibilities like school or work at all. She's a neat ghost. As if she didn't give a toss how I felt, Crow began floating along above the rails herself, with no intent of waiting for the train to show up.
何か。
Michiru snapped her fingers.
いえ、兄様の気配で誰かが近くにいるような気がしたのですが、勘違いだった。
Echolocation. Michiru made use of this technique to verify her surroundings, but she could only shake her head upon confirming nothing was there. She must have clued into Crow's presence from my own movements. Her other senses have been dulled in the slightest. Oh, that reminds me. Would you happen to know a girl named Miyu Suzuki? Michiro happened to be a first year, just like that girl. So I figured changing the subject to ask about her couldn't hurt.
あら、兄様からミユさんの名前が出るとは意外ですね。
So you do know her.
クラスメートで仲のいいお友達ですよ。
Oh, is she really? I figured she'd at least recognize the name, but it was surprising to hear that they were such close
妹の
friends.
数少ない交友関係くらいは把握してくださっていてもよろしいかと思います。
Well, you know, Michiro, it's a little difficult to do that when you talk with me. Because you don't talk about anything but me. So I'm in the dark about what goes on at school for you.
私の世界は兄様の存在だけで従前に満たされておりますゆえ。
That's quite a leap from what you said 10 seconds
兄
ago.
さんは可愛らしい子ですよね。見た目ではなく性格が。
Michiro giggled.
それで兄様こそミユさんとはどういうご関係なんですか？何か私がミユさんとお話をしなければいけないご関係なんでしょうか？
Hey, cut it out. It's not what we're talking about at all. While we were banting like that, the train arrived. It was about a 10-minute ride, so we continued the conversation as we stood on the train. I don't know Miu very well at all. In fact, I only just met her yesterday, so I still don't really know what she's like. I leaned my weight against the handlebars as I spoke.
ちょっとした事情とは。
I can't tell you. It's not that I don't want to, but I have a good reason why I can't.
それなら気にしないことにします。
My sister was quick to place her trust in my words.
ミユさんのことを話せとおっしゃいますが、具体的に何をお話しすればよいのでしょう。特徴的なことは父子家庭であること、お家が少々貧しいこと。これは事情ですね。他には勉強は非常に得意なことくらいですが。
Accepting her poverty at home, I had already known those things beforehand. If I'm the prince, that must make her Cinderella. She doesn't seem to have a wicked stepmother and elder sisters to bully her, though. And since Michiro didn't mention how she skipped grades, I guess she didn't know about that either. I'd like to know more about her social anxiety myself.
ええ、確かにミユさんは引っ込み思案というか、人見知りが激しいですね。
I'm actually trying to help her overcome that. So I was just wondering if you have any ideas about how to help her open up a little more.
またおかしなことをしていますね。
Michiro gave me a gentle laugh.
性格を変えようとするなら、いっそ調教か洗脳とかされたらいかがでしょう。
Wow. Hey, I'm not trying to make her into a completely different person. She just wants some help with her social anxiety.
冗談ですよ。あのピュアピュアなところは私も好ましく感じていますし。
I agree.
上がり症の克服につながるような話となると、まるで思いつきませんが。
Michiro stopped and thought about something for a moment.
兄様の参考にということでしたら、ミユさんに限らず周りの子の性格が大きく変わる出来事はあります。
What would that be?
彼氏ができた時です。大体は自分に自信がついて明るくなります。
A guy would go through changes like that when he finds a girlfriend too, but I would imagine the change is more drastic for girls. I understand what she's trying to tell me, but given Mia's circumstances, the idea of her getting a boyfriend in order to work up enough courage to confess to Shuji was pretty much a cart before the horse kind of idea. Right. On second thought, she might be onto something here. While I was silently collecting my thoughts momentarily, Michiro grinned and cocked her head to one
いっ
side.
そ兄様がミユさんとお付き合いされてみたらいかがですか？
Huh? You're always trying to make a move on me, and yet you asked me that? Oh, ye of little faith in your own brother.
私のアプローチも 効果がないわけではないのですね。
I felt like I'd want to paint myself into a corner. Given Machida's maturity over the past year or two, and how often she expressed her affection for me, one could say I felt a sort of ambivalence toward her. Aren't we getting off topic here?
上がり症の克服のために兄様とミユさんに恋愛してもらい、あわよくば本妻にしていただいても構わないというお話でしたね。
Why must you distort my intentions?
最終的に兄様に囲っていただきたい私の立場上、相手をしやすい方が本妻でいてくれた方が都合がよろしいのです。
Machida displayed a smile more brilliant than the purest white. It was one that belied how she truly felt. Well, just don't tell me who I asked about her.
兄様の望むままに。
Machida nodded respectfully, and that was the end of the conversation. Good grief. This is one conversation to have at this hour of the morning. Even so, I felt that there was some value in asking another girl's opinion on the matter. Falling in love spurs on changes for a girl. From you, that change has already started. So I just need to give her a bit of a push on the back one way or another. I continued to pass the time, making idle conversation with Michiru as per my everyday routine. We got off of the monorail near the beach and then walked down the seaside path to our final destination.
着きましたね。
Losing her sight had really sharpened her sense of intuition as she sensed the gate a few steps in front of us and stopped. You can let go of my hand anytime.
どうせですから、下駄箱まで。
Your class isn't the same way as mine, though.
でしたら、いっそ学校などサボって愛の逃避行というのも悪くありませんね。ちょうどそこに海がありますし。
We don't have a boat. I shook off her eager hand and pushed her on the back. Go on, you're going.
はーい。
Michiro swung her parasol in front of her as she walked away reluctantly. What a handful. At first glance, you would think she's a mature, sensible young lady, but she was still a child at heart, complete with a child's sense of entitlement. I waited behind Michiro a little bit before walking through the gate myself. I didn't want to constantly have her sticking to me like glue. I suddenly ran into Miu. Yo, morning.
レイ先輩、おはようございます。
Quite a coincidence running into you here, though maybe we walked by each other without noticing it before.
いえ、今日は私が早く登校したので。
Mio spoke as timidly as ever. Compared to yesterday, it seemed like she had reverted to being constantly on guard with others overnight.
今日もいい天気ですね。降水確率 0% なんだそうです。
You don't have to force yourself to talk about something. It's fine.
ごめん。ありがとうございます。
She must have remembered me telling her not to apologize so much. After thanking me, she finally relaxed her shoulders and gave me a bashful smile. I didn't expect to run into you. Maybe we should wait until later to talk about you-know-who. Alright?
はい。よろしくお願いします。みーちゃん、こちらの方が昨日の先輩なの？
Suddenly, another first-year student of short stature appeared next to Mio.
そうだよ、みさきちゃん。この人がさっき話してたレイ先輩。
You told her about yesterday?
みさきちゃんは親友だから、他の人には本当に内緒ですけど。
That's how secrets stop being a secret, you know? Mia's face dropped when I pointed that out, but regardless, I just give a half-hearted smile to the other girl, Misaki.
はじめまして先輩。安藤美咲です。みーちゃんがお世話になったみたいでありがとうございます。
That's very polite. I'm not fond of calling people by the last name, so would you mind if I just called you Misaki?
構いませんよ。
The girl seemed like a polar opposite of my sister. Steadfast, mature, with a lovable smile. I had a hunch her upbringing had affected that. Are you some kind of rich heiress or something?
あら、分かってしまいますか。
Misaki acknowledged it without
この
hesitation.
町だと圧倒的に沢渡りの方が有名ですけど、私の親も建築会社を経営してるんです。
Oh, come to think of it, I'd seen trucks around town with Ando written on them in English letters before. Is that the one?
あれですね。
Oh, a large company heiress, huh? Guess you must be quite the rich girl.
すごいですよね。そんなことありませんよ。
That reminds me, wasn't Ando the subcontractor for the city that tapped for that contract to build the monorail? Oh, crap. I didn't want people to know about my family, but I almost brought it up in a conversation without thinking. Forget I said that.
ちょっと待って。あのモノレールって沢渡さんが町のためにってお金を出して作られたんですよね。
Yeah, I guess so. I tried to change the subject, but it didn't really work.
もしかしてレイ先輩の妹ってみちるちゃんって言いませんか？
Mio may be shy around others, but she didn't mince words when she felt the situation called for it. She is, but I will say that she's probably given you a pretty different impression of me.
やっぱりみちるちゃんがいつも言ってる兄様ってレイ先輩のことだったんですね。
Seems like you two get along pretty swimmingly.
沢渡
Hearing Masaki's faint muttering of realization, Mio's eyes widened in
じゃ
amazement.
あレイ先輩って正真正銘の王子様なんだ。すごい。
Nah, I wouldn't say I'm cool just because I'm from an affluent family. I initially thought it would be better to let the whole thing slide, but I ended up spilling the beans about me being Machita's relative instead. I'm sure it would have gotten out sooner or later anyway, though. Just please don't think any differently of me because of that. Ever since I was a kid, it's caused me nothing but trouble. I sighed dejectedly. People I thought were my friends would push me away, and even the teachers would treat me differently when they found out about my circumstances. Anyone would be bitter over that.
ああ、だから名字が苦手だって。
As if she'd figured out one of my weaknesses, Mio gave a slightly suspect-looking smile. Yeah, I may be a Sawatari, but I'm still my own person.
はい、わかりました。レイ先輩。
Thank you. I was truly grateful for Mio's understanding, but Masaki hadn't said anything yet. That reaction was something I was more accustomed to. What's eating her anyway? If she had a sense of pride in her own family name, maybe she saw me as a rival or something. If the Sawatari family didn't have the stature they did, Masaki probably would be a thoroughbred princess. Well, I'm out. See ya. There was nothing left to say, so it was almost probably wise to get out of there. Good grief. Even if I'm used to it by now, it's still ungodly awkward when my family comes up in conversation. Well, I'm sure getting an earful of Shuji's acid tongue will set me at ease. I came into the classroom, put down my bag, went over to talk to Suji.
朝っぱらからなんだお前は。男の癒しになるとか気持ち悪いにも程があるぞ。
Nah, I was just hoping to hear a bit of your FU, I do what I want attitude.
もっとけなしてやろうか。
No. You'd only get like 15 seconds into it before I'd have to slug you.
朝から変なものでも食べたんじゃねえのか。
Putting that aside, I heard you lent an umbrella to that girl you were talking to yesterday.
あ
For some reason he looked puzzled. There still wasn't very many people in the classroom, but I lowered my voice anyway to be safe. Hey, her name's Mio Suzuki, and she told me she fell for you when you let her borrow that umbrella one day.
ああ、傘ってあの子だったか。
I feel there's something you're not telling me.
女子に傘を貸したのは覚えてるけど、その後何もなかったから顔を忘れてた。
So you were just trying to be a show-off, helping out a cute girl caught in the rain?
当たり前だ。ブースに傘なんか貸すか。
Seriously. One of these days, that big mouth of yours is going to get you knifed in the back. And to be honest, I mentally conceded that he had a point, but I would never dare say that to his face.
あ、やっぱり昨日のあれはマジで告白だったのか。
Even if it was just lending her an umbrella, I guess that's love at first sight for you.
驚いた。
I know, right? Nonetheless, I couldn't help but grin. Must be nice. You're gonna have a girlfriend before me?
いや、それは。
Shuji hesitated as if he wasn't sure what to say next. It was surprising to see Shuji of all people act like that. What's up?
困ったな。
What, are you gonna turn down a cute girl's confession? Or do you actually have a girlfriend I don't know
うる
about?
さい。ちょっと考えさせろ。
Shuji furrowed his brow in thought, though I thought this wasn't anything to worry about. Then he spoke again.
ここからは俺とあの子の問題だし、さんずいは気にするな。昨日のことと今の話はありがとな。
Although he thanked me for helping, Shuji immediately left the classroom after that. He seemed to be giving me the cold shoulder. I was left dumbfounded in the classroom. Wait. I hadn't been prepared for this. Shuji would react positively. I'd tell Miu news at lunch break, and then bada bing, live happily ever after. That's how things would go, or so I thought. Did I now have to declare Miu's crush as just an idea that wouldn't get on the runway? That it was more like an idea that blew up in the hangar? What do I do now? I buried my face in my hands. It would be different if Shuji had a girlfriend, but that doesn't seem to be the case. He didn't even explain why he's not interested in her. I decided to get up and follow Shuji to see if I could coax any more out of him, but...
レイ君、おはよ
Whoops! In spite of my haste, as soon as a cute girl said hello to me, I had to stop and return the greeting. Good morning, Makoto.
う。おはよう、おはよ
Makoto had a casual smirk on her face, like she was in a good mood. I thought she would at least say hello and go about her business, but she was still hanging in front of me. Stop.
う。あのね、大したものじゃないんだけど、これを渡そうと思って。
She handed me a small wrap box. Opening, I found it contained a large eraser along with some cutesy post-it notes whose designs were unabashedly girly in appearance.
昨日、お弁当を助けてくれたお礼。ありがとね。
It really wasn't a big deal, though. This is an awfully diligent present from you.
そうなんだけど、義理人情は大事なことだし、受けた恩には報いないと。
Makoto never stood out to me before, but in real conversation with her, I couldn't help but notice she was a bit more old-fashioned than most girls. Is it her manner of speaking? Huh?
どうしたの？
I don't know. I just have a feeling. Haven't I met you somewhere before?
疑問句？
Who even says that pickup line anymore? I'm asking a serious question here.
同じクラスだったことあったっけ？
I don't think so. We probably didn't even go to the same school before coming here.
じゃあ、前世からの因縁のある仇かな？
Why does that have to be my mortal enemy? Maybe you could just call it fate. Well, anyway, thanks a lot for the gift.
どういたしまして。
Makoto gave me a dazzling smile as she turned back to go to her seat. Now, what was I doing again? Right, I was trying to go up to Suji. The hallway was packed with people, all of them hanging around, chatting. I wouldn't want anyone to overhear something like this, so it might be hard to grill Suji anymore until after school. I scratched my cheek. For a guy with such a big mouth, he sure can be a meal sometimes. Shuji says whatever he feels like most of the time, but if he decides that he doesn't want to talk about something, he really buttons his lip. Man, Shuji really has a good job. Then it was time for lunch. I took my lunchbox up to the rooftop. Although I was excited to have lunch with a cute girl, I was nervous to tell her about Shuji. So on the whole, I suppose that balanced out my mood. Maybe I don't need to tell her today. I could just keep my mouth shut until I get a real answer out of Shuji. I went up the stairs, opened the door, and got to the rooftop. She's not here yet. The rooftop was hot and humid as usual, but Mia wasn't around. She seemed like a very conscientious girl, so I thought she would be here before me. Well, maybe she's going to come after she eats lunch. Might as well wait it out. While loitering on the roof with nothing else to do, I became aware of some kind of commotion down below. What's this? I peered off the roof and saw a circle of people crowded around something. In the middle of that circle lay the body of a person. Without a word, I hurled my pocket watch into the ground. Don't tell me she fell again! My sudden shout after turning back time once again greatly surprised Makoto and the other students around me. I ignored them and ran out of the room. Mio and I have just missed each other somehow, so maybe she's over there. Here. Mio was over on the other side of the pool, other side of the roof, wearing a carefree smile. Come here now!
Huh?
Just hurry! Though I told her to come here first, I ended up running to her instead. Please just get away from the edge. Mio didn't seem like she was going to fall, but just to be safe, I grabbed her hand and pulled her away. Then, from the other direction, I heard a small thunk. Wondering what the noise was, I looked and saw that there was a strangely colored rock lying on the ground. A rock? How did that get here? Did it fall from somewhere? It's not like the wind could have carried the stone up here, and there isn't anything around here that's taller than this building. Huh? What? It wasn't a very big meteorite, but the odds of one falling in this exact spot right in front of us are astronomical. Wait a minute, if I hadn't pulled Mio away from the edge, it could have hit her. Hey, Mio.
Hi.
Are you genetically inclined to constantly get mixed up in unlucky situations? Mio's voice caught in her throat, as if she was well aware of it herself. So, I see. For the record, I have really good luck. Well, that's the people who run into trouble all the time are most likely to just end up being saved by people like that. So, will you normally do the complete opposite of that? I couldn't help but sigh. If it's that rare, then I'll give it to you. I handed the meteorite to Mio. It's not really worth anything to me. If it's treasure to you, then you should be the one to have it. She wrapped the tiny rock in a handkerchief as if it were a precious jewel before putting it into her pockets. Well, I used to think smooth, shiny stones were really cool when I was a kid, too. Ever since the day that botched confession when I first met her, I can't tell if my luck has become really good or really bad. If I hadn't met her, she would have died twice over, but on the other hand, you could also say that since she met me, she had now ended up in two situations where she barely avoided death. In any case, you seem to be talking more naturally than you were this morning. Does Michiru talk about me all the time at school too? Who the heck is this brother of hers? I guess you could say it's a blessing in disguise that your expectations were shattered like that. Since I was getting tired of standing around, I decided to sit down. Miu did the same as well. Nice view as always, I see.
ああ、はい、そうですね。
Miu glanced around every which way, but my eyes were naturally drawn toward one specific spot. But never mind that. Have you come up with any ideas to overcome your social anxiety?
いえ、全然何も。思いついたことは今までいろいろと試してきましたから。
I guess Miu, in her recklessness, would have thought of things to try on the spur of the moment beforehand herself.
レイ先輩の方はどうですか？石田先輩とお話しされたんでしょうか？
I haven't got a chance to yet. I need a little more time. I gave her a completely honest answer. But more importantly, I was thinking about something myself.
ただ雑談するよりルールを設けた方が効果があるかもって話ですね。
Took the words right out of my mouth. Man, you really are a genius.
おい、その呼び方をするなら、私もみんなの前でレイ先輩のことを沢渡様って言いますよ。
Please do not do that. Just hearing that made me cringe. Anyway, Miu,
はい。
go out with me. Miu jumped in shock and let out a loud gasp.
そんな
I haven't finished explaining, so calm down.
もう落ち着けって言われて、落ち着けって言ってられない。
The road would be a lot easier if telling someone to calm down actually did calm them down. Maybe I went a little too far. Miu was completely freaking out.
レイ先輩、思い出すべきは私には心に決めた人がいるというところから全ての話が始まっているわけでして、いえ、レイ先輩に魅力がないというわけではなく、そりゃレイ先輩のことも好きではないわけではないですが、
Oh?
しかし、だがしかし。
Sorry. I meant we should set a rule to act like we're actually going out when we talk.
そう。
Freeze spray! Sit down. At my begging, Miu immediately flopped down on the concrete.
ご説明を。
Are you mad at me?
判決待ちです。
You want to overcome your social anxiety in order to ask Shuji out, right? So, you need to get used to talking to boys about love and romance.
それはまあそうですね。
Here carefully pondered over what I said, making every effort not to misunderstand.
怖がったり慌てたりというのは結局一度も経験したことがないこと、すなわちどうなるかわからない状況に対しての心の反応です。お化け屋敷が明るくてここがびっくりポイントですって看板が立ってたら何も怖くありません。そもそも練習や勉強というもの自体、新規にしろ既存にしろ物事を繰り返し行うことで不測の事態となる出来事、すなわち未体験を潰していく作業であることに間違いはありません。男性になれるために恋人らしく振る舞うっていうのはすごく理にかなってるはずなんです。
Not only is this girl a genius, she's well spoken too. You don't overanalyze. You don't have to overanalyze it like that.
自分に言い聞かせてるだけですから。
Even while she responded, I could tell she was still a little miffed about what I said earlier, though that was only natural. I kind of think it's a bit much to ask of you myself, and besides, I wouldn't want to force... You're agreeing that quickly? I expected that she would have asked me to sleep on it or something, to have time to think. Now it was my turn to be surprised. It's okay if you want to sleep on it, you know.
いえ、こういうのは思い立ったが吉日ですから。
That's the kind of thinking that made you screw up the first time. Are you gonna blow your second chance too? My head was spinning. Why was this girl so precocious, yet so absent-minded?
そんなに心配しないでください。やらずに後悔するならやって後悔するから平気ですよ。
So basically, you're screwed if you do, and you're screwed if you don't. I was on the verge of burying my head in my hands again, but Mio was still staring quizzically at me.
先輩は後悔したくないんですか？
Well, duh. That's the last thing I want to do, is have regrets. That was, after all, why I frequently made use of the power within my pocket watch.
それはそうですね。だけど
Paketo?
後悔しないってことは何も自分で決めない、選ばないってことじゃないですか。私はいつの日か後悔しなかったことを後悔したくはないんです。
Just like the day we first met, her straightforward resolve left me astonished. Mia really is the exact opposite of me. If we were asked which of us would be easier living in the world as it is today, the answer would surely be me. Yet somehow people like me are inevitably attracted to a person like Mio. Just as the sunflower cranes its neck toward the sun. Besides, sunflower seeds are really tasty too.
じゃあ恋人っぽくっていうのは明日からでいいですか？
Oh sure, that works. At that moment, my stomach let out a low, dull noise. Mulling over complicated things like this really works up an appetite. I looked in my bag for my lunch, but it wasn't there. Oh, I forgot my lunchbox.
家に置いてきちゃったんですか？
No, it's in the classroom. I forgot to bring it with me this
今
time.
回は
It's nothing, don't worry about it.
そうだ、もしよかったら明日からレイ先輩のお弁当も作ってきましょうか？
Lunch for me?
協力してもらうお礼に。自分とお父さんの分と一緒なのでお金持ちの人の下には合わないかもしれないですけど。
Mia looked up at me, timidly awaiting my response. You know, wealth doesn't affect a person's taste. My family's maid usually makes my lunch.
まずお家にメイドさんがいるのが普通じゃないです。
Touché. But in any case, a handmade lunchbox from a girl. Felt like a dream come true, but thinking about it more closely, I shook my head. Nah, I don't think you have to.
でも恋人っぽいかなーって。
It's probably going a little too far, though, you know? I wouldn't want you to ruin a good memory like that for yourself.
あ、
Mia's eyes widened, and then she smiled.
ありがとうございます。
どうでしてました？
それならクッキーか何か焼いてきます。お菓子を作るのも好きなんです。
Alright.
はい、楽しみにしていてください。
She flashed a smile that sparkled as brilliantly as the sun on a summer's day, and I couldn't help but smile back. That said, while I didn't pay much mind to it during our conversation, I wondered, does Mio like me the same way she likes Shuji? I knew it wouldn't be wise to get ahead of myself with wishful thinking, but things were shaking up to be quite interesting. School came to an end. I thought about talking to Shuji again, but he dashed out of the homeroom immediately after school as if he knew I wanted to talk to him. He's not answering my texts either. Where did he go? I put my phone away and looked around. While I was hanging around the homeroom waiting for Shuji to answer me, I realized that I had already missed my opportunity to turn back time 5 minutes and find him before we left school. If we were going straight home, he'd take the monorail, but he might have decided to walk through town instead, to avoid me. I made up my mind and set out looking for him on a different road home than I usually take. I ran into someone while I was looking for him in the Central Park located directly in the center of town, true to its name. Contrary to expectations, the person I encountered was actually Makoto, not Tsuji. Hey, Makoto.
あれレイ君
Calling out to a girl on the street was not something I'd ever normally do, but I was looking for someone else after all. Have you seen Tsuji around here?
石田君見てないよ
No. Guess I'll have to get back to him in class tomorrow.
鬼ごっこでもしてるの
Something like that.
男子は楽しそうだな
Makoto's speech was casual and laid back. Is your house over this way?
違うよちょっと散歩してるだけ私の家はレイ君と同じ方向
I wonder why she knew where my house was, but I guess the Sawatari estate would stand out. I can't conceal my last name from everyone, especially my classmates. Man, going for walks around like a pretty modest... Man, going for walks sounds like a pretty modest hobby.
渋いっていうか天気がいい日はあれを見るのが好きなんだよね
Makoto looked up at the sky. In that direction was the other major symbol of our town, aside from the monorail, the town monument. Both the monorail and the monument were designed with a motive that their shapes together would both resemble a giant sundial from an aerial view of the
あ
town.
の柱もこの公園も沢渡君の家がモノレールと一緒に作ったんだよね
It's not like I broke the ground on them or anything, though. My family being brought up in conversation was a surefire way to get me annoyed. Makoto was still smiling, though.
いいことじゃんモノレールはみんなが便利に使ってるしこの公園は私好きだしレイ君と話すことがあったらそれは言っておこうと思ったんだよねありがとうって
Wasn't a big deal. Makoto was more outgoing than I had thought. I wish Mio could be half as good at making conversation as Makoto
でも
was.
あのモニュメントを作るときにそばの家とはちょっと揉めたよね
Oh, right. I remember there were concerns that such a big structure would block out the sun at certain times of the day for certain buildings in the area. I didn't expect you to know about that.
ああちょっとね
For some reason, Makoto was suddenly a bit flustered. Why? Wait, that's it. I still have some vivid memories of a disagreement over this monument. When I was a kid, the park monorail was still under construction. One day, my late grandfather told me about the word fixer. I asked my grandfather what that unfamiliar word meant, and he told me to remember it well because it might prove useful in the future. A fixer is a person with influence and connections who is able to grease the wheels of society by negotiating and resolving disputes. A fixer doesn't necessarily break the law himself, but there's a good chance he has a free pass to some of the more undesirable elements of society. There aren't many people like that in the city, aside from one particular family rumored to have connections to the Yakuza. Jonochi. Now I remember. I really have met you somewhere before. I'd completely forgotten, given how hard I try not to think about my family. If the Sawatari family is a public face of its own, then the Jonochi family is a hidden face. Soon after the park and monorail construction projects were completed, members of both families were invited to a party to memorialize the occasion. That's where I met the Jonochi family patriarch. He had appeared to be a quiet man in a suit, but when I heard the weight of his voice carried as he ordered his butler to take his coat, I could sense he was not a normal man. And that young girl I saw at the party, who was clearly a family member of his, don't tell me that was actually... Kodo? Suddenly my vision went hazy.
余計なことを思い出したか
Regaining my senses, I realized Makoto had pulled me directly in front of her face and was staring daggers at me. Makoto?
黙れ
Yes, ma'am. I'll put a lock and key over my mouth, so you won't have to hear a peep out of me until you give me permission to speak again.
本当に無駄によく回る舌だね。私がエンマ様の代わりに抜いてあげようか。
Of course, I couldn't respond to that. The always easygoing Makoto had seemingly transformed into another person entirely, and she had me right up by my necktie.
まったく。せっかく1年以上誰にも知られずに生活できてたのに。
Guess we all have stuff to hide.
黙るんじゃなかったの。
At least let me make my excuses first.
男なら言い訳なんかせず、背筋を伸ばしてなさい。
I wondered in the back of my head if that was seriously her most important criterion for being a man. This is not the ideal time to point this out, but she smelled nice. In any other situation, the scent alone would set my heart racing. No, my heart was already racing, but for the wrong reason. Would it be a problem if everyone knew the truth about you?
沢渡りのお坊ちゃんなら思い当たる節はあるんじゃない？
My lips are sealed then.
私は静かに暮らしたかっただけなのにな。
Makoto looked like she was back to her normal for a second, giving a dejected sigh at her situation. Usually it's always the crazy ones who say that, though.
私は堅気として生きていけって言われてるの。
Makoto pulled tighter on my necktie, continuing to stare me down. So basically, you're threatening me not to tell anyone else about your family?
お願いだよ。
That's not what it sounded like a minute ago. Can I just say one thing?
さっきから喋りっぱなしじゃない。
Makoto, you're cute. Makoto's face was still uncomfortably close to mine, so I could instantly see the blood rushing to her cheeks. It's just, you seem so ordinary most of the time, but seeing you drop that and go to medieval on me isn't bad either, you know?
今はそういう話をしてるんじゃないでしょ？
But you're so close to me right now, I can feel your breath. Makoto's voice caught in her throat, and she started panicking. She wanted to retreat, but since she was the one who grabbed me first, she was seemingly confused about what to do. Evidently, the clumsy, carefree side of Makoto I normally saw was anything but an act. She's cute, funny, and really easygoing. I feel like I should move her up a few places on my list of cute girls.
とにかく私のことは黙っているのよ。
Of course, I'm known for being a taciturn kind of guy.
どう考えてもその逆の評価しか受けてないと思うんだけど。
Well, in any case, even if you hadn't threatened me, it's not like I'd have any motive to.
そこまでよ。困っている女の子に言い寄るなんて正体を表したわね。沢渡りの御曹司。
Who the heck? My head snapped towards the direction of the voice shouting dialogue that wouldn't have been out of place in some cheesy B movie. The voice was coming from higher ground, from the top of a set of stairs leading up the hill. There on the hill stood a young woman, pointing directly at me with a pose of unflappable confidence.
正義の味方、安藤美咲よ。
Misaki declared her name aloud, with no room for doubt. No room for doubt that she was out of her mind. Does it seriously look like I'm macking on it right now?
そもそも誰？
She'd appeared with no warning whatsoever, so Makoto was every bit as dumbfounded as I was. Misaki evidently misinterpreted my reaction, as her face curled into a triumphant smile.
悔しそうね。まあ、あんたがみーちゃんのそばにいてもいい男かどうか確かめるために私が後をつけていたことに気づかないようでは当然ね。
For an ally of justice, you sure seem to be doing a lot of prying.
うるさい。
Misaki stamped her foot and yelled again.
とにかくビシリ。そのお嬢さんから手を離しなさい。
Can you even see who is holding who right now? I shot a side glance at Makoto, who still had me by the necktie.
はい。
Makoto snapped out of it. She finally released me and stepped away.
人質は解放したようね。さあ、そこでおとなしく待っていなさい。
After her melodramatic declaration, Misaki gleefully began running down the stairs. What have I done to deserve this?
誰なの？
Amidst all the idiocy, Makoto asked a perfectly reasonable question. A friend of my sister. Though I have a feeling she might know my sister firsthand as well.
よくわからない。
Don't worry about it, neither do I.
着地。
It didn't take long for Misaki to reach the bottom of the stairs. She was playing the heroine in a situation she totally misunderstood, complete with corny expository dialogue.
さあ、沢渡り。言いたいことがあるなら最後に言い残しなさい。
Chalk up one more person I've met who's acting like my first impression of them, I guess.
演技してたわけじゃなくて、お嬢様らしくしてたの。でも、まんまと騙されたわね。
Do all girls wither away and die if they don't have some sort of secret to hide?
これと一緒にされても。
Makoto shot back with an acrimonious retort. Just let me be clear about one thing. I wasn't hitting on Makoto here, okay? She was the one who started it.
そうなの？まさか恋人？
Misaki, who naturally had no reason to trust my word, turned to Makoto instead.
いや、そんなことあるわけないよ。違うじゃない。
Oh my god. Makoto wouldn't help clear up the misunderstanding, so I got to take the fall for it. She evidently understood that herself as she glanced at me apologetically. She's cute, so I suppose I can forgive her. Anyway, I'd really appreciate it if you could stop yelling my family name over and over.
何よ、あなた沢渡りの御曹司でしょ。それならそれらしくシャキッとしなさいよ。
The way she said that made it hard to tell whether she was chastising me or trying to spur me on. Like she had a lot of pride in being an Ando.
私、帰っていい？
Hey, you sold me out enough already.
それなら、レイ君も一緒に帰ろうか。
Okay. See you, Misaki. Don't go trying to apprehend any strangers, okay?
はい、また明日。ってそんなことでごまかされるわけないでしょ。
Misaki stamped her feet against the ground
す
again.
っごい乗りツッコミ。
I know a lot of first years like
今
that.
日は誤解だったみたいだけど、すぐにあなたが極悪人だってことを証明してやるんだから。よくわからないけど、大変だね、レイ君。
Makoto, evidently wanting to change the subject, told me the abridged story of my life these last few days. Man, now I'm getting sympathy from you.
完全に他人事だもん。
You say so. Well, the past 2 days I've had an effort to befriend more girls, and as a result, I've met a genius girl with social anxiety, a gangster's daughter, and a rich girl who doesn't seem to be playing with a full deck. I wanted to muse bad luck was contagious since all these weird happenings seemed to be piling up before me. That too made for a good abridged story of my life. Whoa, man. What just happened?
ああ、おバカじゃなかった。美咲さんともお会いしたんですね。
What just happened? So many things. I have no words. Thanks for watching. Let's see where the story goes next time.